Good morning, everyone. This is Andrew Rodman with Western Marketing. I'm excited for this webinar today. We have Illinois Mutual, and then we've got Dan and Leah both here that are going to kind of go over the product with you guys, what the niche is, and why we're recommending you to become contracted with Illinois Mutual, and where it's going to fit your guys' clients' needs as well. So Dan is going to run through kind of the main product information. I'll transition over to Leah because she's the expert on kind of the portal, how things work, where to find your business, and where to do the application signature processes. So by the time you get done watching this right now that you're attending or later on, you're going to be able to go out and offer this final expense product to your clients and be able to easily and seamlessly submit that application. So if you got any questions in the meantime, you can type them into the chat at the bottom right. It's there. We'll answer them as we go, or we will answer them at the end of the webinar. So with that, Dan, I'd like you to take it away here, and let's learn a little bit about your guys' simplified issue whole life.
Okay, thank you very much, Andrew. As Andrew said, I will cover kind of the product information on our simplified issue whole life, and then Leah will cover kind of the coding and application process on it. So we'll get going with our simplified issue whole life is a product that's designed as an easier to qualify product than, say, our traditional whole life that goes through the full underwriting aspect. It's fewer questions. It's always going to be a no paramed exams. There's not any APSs that are ordered on it. So it's an easier to qualify. Also easy. It's going to be a quicker answer on if the person's accepted or not accepted on it. Premiums do not increase on this product. So it's a guaranteed level premium, guaranteed death benefit. Premiums also, or death benefits also do not decrease. So again, it's going to stay as a level death benefit. The key to this product is it is a level death benefit from day one. So it's not a graded or a modified death benefit where you have to wait, 2 to 3 years to receive 100% of your death benefits. It's full death benefit from day one of the contract after the person's approved and it's paid for. As far as markets go on our simplified issue whole life, we're going to be able to write this product as low as age 45. So it's going to go from ages 45 to 85 with coverage amounts from $5,000 up to $50,000. So a lot of times in the final expense market, you might see a maximum of $35,000, even sometimes $25,000. Ours is actually going to go up to $50,000. And part of that reason is it's not a modified or a graded death benefit, so we can go with a little bit larger death benefits on this product. The simplified issue, where we primarily see it is to help cover funeral costs, medical bills, outstanding debts, any other final expenses that the person may have. Now, this slide says that it may be a first-time buyer. That may be the case. It may not be. If you think about, there's typically about 6 times in a person's life when they're most apt to buy life insurance. It usually kind of goes in the order of, person gets married. That is the first time they're looking at life insurance. If the parents hadn't purchased a larger amount on the child, when they get married is usually the first time that a person thinks is, somebody else is relying on my income. So they look at life insurance. The next is buying a house, then having kids, debt, estate planning, and then final expense. So typically final expense insurance is one of those final times that a person's looking at buying life insurance. Now, say a person bought a final expense policy, say 20 years ago. They might have bought $10,000. Well, 20 years ago, that $10,000 was enough to cover the cost of a funeral. If you think about what's happened since COVID with, gas prices, a gallon of milk, anything else, everything's gone up in price, inflation. Well, to go along with that, funeral costs have also increased. So that $10,000 just isn't enough anymore. So as it says, it may be a first-time buyer, but it also could be a repeat buyer that already has a $10,000 or $20,000 burial plan. That just isn't enough to cover the cost of a funeral in today's costs. So the simplified issue whole life, as I said before, it's a simpler, easier process to sell. and then also to qualify for. The application process, again, it's going to be fewer questions on it. It's going to be a quicker answer on it. What we're going to do is we are going to use an IRIX. So we run it through IRIX and Telescript, and then we know within 24, 48 hours if that person's accepted or rejected. If it falls within a table F as in Frank, it's accepted. If it's above a table F, it's a declined case. So it's not any of those that have a table rating or anything built into it. We offer it in a continuous pay, which is probably, I would say, probably 90% of our sales. And then it's also offered in a single premium. So if you have somebody that has a $5,000, $10,000 CD maybe sitting around that they're looking to help cover funeral costs, they can use it to, increase that deposit and use it that way. But again, we deal with a lot of middle market America, so a bulk of our sales are in that continuous pay aspect. Because it's a whole life policy, it does build cash value, so loans are available on the product. So if 10, 20 years down the road, they run into an emergency and they need some money, they can take out a loan on the policy if they choose to do so. So to give you an idea of just kind of an overview of the product that I want to focus on, again, issue ages are 45 to 85. Death benefit amounts go down to as little as $5,000 up to $50,000. It's offered in a single pay or a continuous pay. The key thing on this product is there's no substandard issue rates on it. So again, table F as in Frank or better is approved. Above that, decline. The key part of this entire product is its aggregate underwriting. And what I mean by that is we have male and female rates. However, there are no tobacco or non-tobacco rates. So if you have a tobacco user, rather it be cigarettes, pipes, cigars, chewers, that would normally be a tobacco user, their rates are going to be substantially lower than what even our traditional whole life product is. We actually have cases where people do conversions from their term policies with us into the whole life, and they don't convert over to our traditional product. They actually convert over to this product because the premium is lower on this than what it is on a traditionally fully underwritten tobacco user. Again, the policy fee is $36. We offer our normal payment modes, monthly bank draft, quarterly, semi-annually, annually. Non-forfeiture options, you have the extended term option, the cash surrender value. If you're writing the policy in Florida, we do offer a reduced paid up policy. However, in other states, that is not an option on it. And again, loans are available to your client if they choose to need them somewhere down the road. We offer if you go to our website, IllinoisMutual.com, and you click on the product section and then the SIWL, that will take you to kind of our SIWL microsite that will provide you with lots of different information as far as agent guides, rate sheets. We offer two different rate sheets. One is on the rate per thousand. The other one just gives you a quick snapshot of what 10,000, 20, 30, 40, and 50,000 costs. Then we also have consumer brochures that are available on that as well. So just to kind of give a quick overview of it, the continuous pay whole life, here's kind of the rate per thousand on this. Again, this is available on our microsite. And I will turn it back over to Andrew, and then Leah will cover our quoting and application system.
Sorry, I was on mute there for a second. Dan, I appreciate you running through that pretty quick and kind of the base highlights. There is a couple questions that came through, if you don't mind answering. On that tobacco, non-tobacco, is that how do they look at if somebody's using marijuana or vape pens? That's two questions.
So vape pens we consider vapors as a tobacco user. on all of our products. So on the simplified issue whole life, the application does not ask if a person is a tobacco user or not. So that part of it wouldn't even come up on the application part of it. And then on our traditional products, it's going to be on our traditional products, it's going to be a tobacco user on vapes, but on this product, they're going to get the same rate if they were tobacco user or non-tobacco. So technically, we classify them as non-tobacco on the SIWLs because they have the same rate. And then, I'm sorry, what was your other question on that?
So the other question would be to see if somebody is using like medical marijuana that's there. Is that decline or is that a tobacco user status?
So what we do is if we consider it on our traditional products, if it's a recreational, so we consider recreational as, once or twice a week. A lot of times they can get a standard non-tobacco rate with us. More often than that, then they can get into it. But again, marijuana usage on this product is going to be they're going to get the same rate regardless if they're tobacco or non-tobacco. So it'd be kind of that non-tobacco on the simplified issue. Where we run into it is when we run the Milliman and Telescript, if they have an underlying condition that it's prescribed, if their marijuana is prescribed from a doctor, there's maybe an underlying condition that's going to be above that table F that causes a case to be declined, but it's not going to be declined strictly off of marijuana usage.
Absolutely. Perfect. Thanks for clarifying that. And then I know Leah's going to go over kind of application that's there, but you highlighted that because you're using IRIC and Telescript that's there, we're looking at, a pretty quick turnaround. So 24 to 48 hours on a decision with your clients, correct?
Yes. And when an agent first gets appointed, we have to go through the contracting process and the validation process. So the first app in might take a little bit longer just because we have to get the agent set up. But after that, after an agent is set up, if they're selling business in the state that they're already appointed in, typically the underwriter is going to look at the case within the first 24 to 48 hours is kind of our guidelines that we follow. So once they look at it, the agent should know within 24 hours after that. So I'd say, 2 to 3 business days is typically what we find is when the agent will find out if the case is approved or not. And we've seen cases where it's actually quicker than that. It can be, if the timing is perfect, they may know that same day if the case is approved or not. But the Milliman and Telescript is a pretty quick answer. We get that information back so the underwriter can make that decision. And again, the key to it is there's never an APS on it. It's either accepted or rejected. So we don't go after medical records to find out, since we all know that medical records, it can be a week, it can be 2 weeks, it can be 2 to 3 months, depending on the doctor's office.
Yeah, that makes sense. And Dan, real quick, you can see my screen and it has our information up on the screen for Western Marketing, correct?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. So just really quick, in between here, before I transition over to Leah, you can see our phone number there. It's 800-852-7152. You can ask for somebody, just a marketer that wants to be able to talk about the simplified issue whole life with Illinois Mutual. Email address, you can do a couple different ones. You got mine, which is andrew@wmacorp.com. We got our new business that's there as well, info email also at wmacorp.com. Real quick, just to recap, why you want to have Illinois Mutual in your product portfolio. So we've got a wide age range that's there. So we got 40 to 85. They're one of the few that actually go up to $50,000 in death benefit, which, a lot of them, like Dan said, stop at 30 or 35,000. So those higher death benefits, that's advantageous for you. We've already talked about the 24 to 48 hours of that decision on the application after the first application and your background's been put in, which is very nice. But the aggregate underwriting is very advantageous when you look at some of those rates or you want us to quote that for you, especially on the tobacco side. The rates are some of the best in the market. So just wanted to recap that with y'all. Once again, our phone number is 800-852-7152 if you have questions on this. I am going to try to transition this over to Miss Leah so she can kind of go over the website and info and make her presenter on this. So Leah, if you're there, I want you to try to introduce yourself a little bit and make sure that we can see you and you're up and going.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Hopefully you can see my screen. Yep.
Screen.
I'm actually going to start here in a Google search, and you'll know why here in a second. I'm one of the internal regional sales reps here at Illinois Mutual. Dan and I are kind of a team here for the Midwestern region. And there's a couple different ways to quote the simplified issue whole life. And first, I wanted to start with a public quoting website that we have that you can access without having to log into the portal. So it's a great tool to have from your phone. If you're on the go and you just need to grab a quick rate without needing to log into the agent portal. It's not an app, it's just a website. So you just type in www.5gquote.com. And you can actually quote all of our life products out here. So you just put in your client's age, their gender, the state that you're in, and then tobacco or non-tobacco doesn't matter for simplified issue whole life, so it doesn't really matter how you answer this one. And then down below here, under I'm looking for life insurance, you can select your product in the drop down. So you just choose the simplified issue whole life. And then you choose your protection amount. Default here is 25,000. I'll just keep it here and click get a life quote. And then it gives you the continuous pay, the monthly option, so $62.71 a month, or if you're doing a single pay one-time dump in, it shows you what that single pay option is as well. So it's just, like I said, a great way to grab a quick quote from your phone. You can also email it to yourself or your client here as well. And then we'll hop over to our agent portal and show you how to run a more in-depth quote where you can actually pull an illustration. You can't get an illustration from the 5G quote site, but what I will say is this whole life is not an illustrated product, so you don't need a signed illustration for this product. All right, so we're going to hop into the agent portal. This is going to be your main dashboard. And if you look under the My Production and My Action items here, you should also have a life section available to you next to disability. This is going to be where once you have submitted any business, you'll be able to see any received business, what business has been issued and paid, and hopefully not, but it happens, declined. So you'll see those numbers here under your production. And then if you want to check on your applications that are currently in underwriting, there's this section under My Action Items, and there's a tab that will automatically take you to that says Applications in Underwriting. And then there's two sections here. One says Pending Information. If you look over to the right and you have business in-house, you'll see a number, like a number of apps there, and that annualized premium amount. If there is a number next to the pending information, that means we need something from you as the agent. So you'll definitely want to check that there. If it's next to pending underwriting, that just means that underwriting is doing its thing. Nothing is needed from you at this time, but you can still click on the number and it will take you to a list of your pending applications. You can get kind of a high-level overview of any outstanding requirements for the case. Typically with simplified issue, there's not really going to be any. Especially if you do an EAP, because the great thing about the EAP is it emits a lot of user error or missing fields. But you can get your underwriter's contact information when you go out there as well. So if you have a pending case, you just click on that number here under the count. You'll be able to see your status and then your underwriter's contact info. So their email address and their direct extension. You do have direct access to our underwriters. And then as far as running a quote goes, so what you're going to do is you're going to click on illustrations and applications here at the top of the page. And then if you're brand new, you won't have anything showing here some recent things that I've done here. So I'll show you how to start an illustration. There's several different ways to do the same thing, but this is my preferred method. So off to the left under illustration management, you will click on create illustration. And in most cases, again, if you have not run any illustrations yet on this client, you're going to click create new client. And then you'll put in first name and last name. And you can put in date of birth or age, either one. So let's do a 50-year-old male here and click next. And then what's very important here is the signed state. So the signed state here will default to your primary state. So if you have non-resident licenses in other states and you are going to be doing business and quoting in that state, it is super important that you change the state here in this dropdown, because if you create an e-app from this illustration, you want to make sure it pulls the correct state form. So the last thing you want to do is take an app on the wrong state form. So just make sure you choose the correct state that you are quoting this business in. Illustration type, there's nothing to change here. Plan type, you'll choose what product you're going to quote. So for the simplified issue whole life, we're going to choose whole life. And then all you have to do is over to the right under product, you'll click that drop down. It's going to show you all of the whole life options, including the fully underwritten. So you'll just kind of scroll down here until you see that simplified issue, continuous pay whole life. So we'll click on that and then we'll click next. And then it takes you into the quoting software. Here's where you will choose your death benefit. So you can just make sure that your name, gender, age is correct here. And then under input type, you have death benefit where you can choose your death benefit and your premium mode. You can also solve for a death benefit based on amount to spend. So if someone tells you this is how much they want to spend, you can also choose that and say they want to spend like $100 a month. Then you can input that to see what kind of death benefit you will get. So you can actually, so if I put in this $100 a month, I'll just click on this values over here real quick and it will show me that death benefit. So for this $100 a month that I input here, this person in particular can get $36,718 in death benefit. But in most cases, you're just going to be doing that death benefit. So we'll just switch this back to death benefit. We'll do $35,000 on this one. Dividend options, that shows here there's really nothing to change here because we actually do not anticipate paying dividends on this policy, so nothing to do there. And then as I mentioned, if you just want to take a look at what that premium looks like before pulling an illustration, you just click on this values off to the left under illustration management. And it will show you all of the premium modes. So it'll show you annual, semi-annual, quarterly. Monthly bill is if you're putting this on a list bill. So that's only available if you have 2 or more policies going to the same address. So in most cases, you're going to want to just look at this monthly. And this is where we will do the monthly EFT. Okay. And then at that point, if you want to pull an illustration for presentation purposes, over to the right, you can click on the action button and then click on preview illustration. And just make sure your pop-up blocker is turned off because this will pull up it's a pop-up of a PDF. And then this is your illustration. So it says simplified issue whole life. It will have your client's name here. Your information as the agent is in this section, some verbiage about Illinois Mutual. And then the second page, it just gives the breakdown on the premiums and the different premium modes. It will show the death benefit and that monthly premium up here on the top right. And then it just kind of shows a breakdown of the cumulative premium, cash surrender value, and death benefit. So you can see that here. And then you can print this, you can download it, email it to your client, whatever you want to choose or whatever you choose to do with it. And then I'm going to close out of here. And then if you are ready to start an e-app from this illustration, then you will just click on this action button and click application. And what that will do, You want to make sure that your values that you input here are what you want on the app. So you want to make sure your client name, age, all that is correct, and your state and your death benefit, because all of that's going to transpose into the application. So then you'll just click create, and then it takes you into the e-app. Everything with a red asterisk is a required field, so it will not allow you to submit the application with any required fields missing. Now, for the sake of your time, so you don't have to sit here and watch me input all of these fields, I'm actually going to pull up an app that I've completed, and then we'll just kind of go through each section of this app. So let me just pull this one that I was working on earlier. This is the search function. So if you were working on an application for someone and it gets buried, you can pull it out by searching by their first and last name here. So here's the app I was working on earlier. I'm just going to highlight it and then click edit, and then it will take me back into it. This one should be 100% complete. Perfect. Okay, so as you can see, all of my required fields are filled in. To save yourself a couple of steps later on, if your insured is also the owner and payer, you can just go ahead and click these two boxes, and then it'll save you 2 steps later on. If you have a separate owner or payer, then you would leave these unchecked, and then you can fill in the owner or payer information when we get to that section. Okay. One thing I point out here, just as a useful or helpful tip, when you get to Occupation and you click on it, there's actually a drop down where you can choose from several options, or you can type maybe the occupation that someone is in. I tend to just like to type in other, and then you can select other, and then you can type in exactly what that occupation is. I feel that's the easiest way. Okay. Annual income, this is actually not a required field, but underwriting will always ask for it. So I would highly recommend putting that annual income field in here. And then you can actually, this saves as you go. So you don't save button as you're going. Any information that you're inputting will save in real time. And you can hop around different pages in the app and come back to it later as well. So if you don't have all the information that you need, at the time you can go in and enter everything you have and then close it out and, schedule a phone call with your client to get any remaining information that might be needed. So then you'll just click the continue button. This is where you'll just make sure you'll enter in your face amount here. You can change that here as well. You can change your premium mode here. Dividend option, again, you don't need to do anything there, and the rate class is always aggregate. And you'll just click continue. Beneficiary, I've already put one in here, but all you have to do is click the new button, and I chose a spouse, or you can choose an individual, child, estate, or trust. And then all you do is you choose the beneficiary level, whether they're primary or contingent, the relationship to the insured here, and then the first and last name. Now, the social security number, date of birth, and address for the beneficiary are not required fields. However, again, underwriting will always ask for it. It's not a have to have, but it is a nice to have, especially the social security number and date of birth, because it makes things much easier when it comes time for the claims process. Okay, and then once you've entered in your beneficiary information, all you do is click save above here, and then it will save that beneficiary. So since I already have one in here, I'm just going to delete this one. And then you'll click continue. And it's going to ask if you have any in-force life insurance or annuities or pending applications, and then also if there's going to be any replacement. So you just answer those questions there. Again, since I checked the insured as owner and payer, it has already entered in the insured's information as the owner here. If you have a separate owner, it's just like how you did the beneficiary. So you choose new, and then you choose the type here, and then the relationship. And then it'll be the same thing with the payer. And then you can just enter in that owner information here. And then same thing with the payer. Since my insured is also the payer, it automatically entered in that information. But if you have a separate payer, you can enter that in under the New tab. And then we'll click Continue. All right, payment information. So there's several different options here. I'm going to choose what is the most common. So effective date is typically going to be issue date. Sometimes people choose application date, or if they want to save age, then you would choose other and choose the day before their birthday, their last birthday, to save age. But in most cases, it's going to be the issue date. Mail policy to Illinois Mutual's default is to mail the policy to the agent. So if you would prefer for that policy to be sent directly to the owner, you can choose owner here. And then initial premium payment, the easiest option is to draft that first premium. Once you get that call from underwriting letting you know that a policy has been approved, they'll ask, do you want us to go ahead and draft that initial premium? And then we'll go ahead and draft it as soon as it's issued. Other options are cash with app, so we'll actually draft when the application is received. I typically don't recommend doing that on simplified issue whole life because sometimes it could get drafted before a policy has been declined, and then they have to wait to get that premium refunded. So I would either choose draft first premium or COD, which is cash on delivery, which is you as the agent are sending in a check essentially for the client. So I'm going to choose draft first premium, draft initial premium. You can either choose at issue, or if they want it to be effective on a specific day, then you can choose that date. Premium or payment mode, since we chose monthly earlier in the application, it's grayed out. The only payment method for monthly is going to be EFT. Secondary addressee is if for whatever reason the payment lapses, they will send a notice to another addressee letting them know that the policy's lapsed. And then you as the agent will input the banking information here, so the bank name, routing number, and account number in both of these spots. And then the account type, they can choose a checking or savings account. And then the draft day is the ongoing draft. So not the initial draft, but the what day they want that draft to come out each month. So you can choose anywhere from the 1st through the 28th. So I chose the 15th in this case, and then I'll just click Continue. Here are the underwriting questions for the simplified issue whole life. Now, there's only one page of these, and what I will say is these are not knockout questions. So as Dan mentioned earlier, we are doing our underwriting completely based on that Milliman IRIX report. So, make sure to answer these, correctly. If you answer yes to any of these, again, it is not a knockout question, okay? So I answered yes to diabetes because that one comes up a lot. And then you'll click Continue. And then some states have different forms that they require. I believe I chose Iowa on this one, and it brought up the HIV/AIDS testing notice and consent form. So if it brings you to a supplemental form, you'll just click on this piece of paper with a pencil on it, and then it will ask you, in this case, send positive results to either an alternative testing site or a physician. I put in the primary care physician's information, clicked OK, and then you'll click Continue. And then here's where you get to the end. So if you left out any required fields, it will show you what you left out, and you can actually click on it and it will take you back to the page that you left out the information, and it highlights it on that page for you. So it makes it very easy for you to find any missing information. In this case, it says that I filled in all of my required fields. So we'll just click Continue to continue with the signature process. Once you get to this page, it has the option to review the forms and then also the leave behind forms. You cannot continue until you have clicked this review forms button. So do whatever you want with this. This basically brings up a completed paper application, essentially. So I always call this your plan B. If your client has any issues with the e-signature process, this is your plan B. You can always email this to them or mail it to them for a wet signature, because this is your fully completed application. You can save this, download it, or you can just close it out and move on. Then click Continue. And then here is where you will put in the signature for your client. So you will choose the city and state that they are signing in. And then under signature method, if your client is signing with you in person, you will choose mouse, finger, stylus. If you are emailing them for signatures, if you're not meeting with them in person, you choose e-signature. You will only see these two options. I only have these extras because I'm a home office employee. So it's mouse, finger, stylus, or e-signature. So let's do the e-signature option. I assume in most cases that's what you'll be using, and then I'll show you the mouse, finger, stylus as the agent because you'll always want to use that as the agent. So we'll choose e-signature. Your client does have to have a valid email address to sign this application. Another thing that I point out is if you have a separate owner or payer, they cannot have the same email address as the insured because if there's the same email address for more than one party, the system won't allow it because they can't differentiate who's the insured and who is the owner or payer with the same email address, and they have separate social security numbers, if that makes sense. So you do want to make sure that they have their own email address, and then you'll click enter in the email, click save. Now there's a box that comes up that says an email will be sent to the address to initiate the signature process. However, you are not done yet, and that email has not yet gone to your client because you still have to sign as the agent. So you'll just click OK, and then you'll click continue. And here's where you answer the agent certification questions regarding replacements, if your client wants any future correspondence in Spanish, and if you are related to your client. Any split commission information you can enter into this if you click on this button here, if there's any splits. Personal history interview completed. I don't really know if this is required, honestly. I think that just has to do with like a PHI, but we don't really do those for the most part, so I wouldn't really worry about that one. There is a comment section here in this box, so in most cases you're not going to need to input any comments. On our fully underwritten products, this is where I would put like mail policy to owner because that question isn't on the fully underwritten app, but usually you won't need to put anything in this section. And then you'll click continue. Again, you have to review the forms as the advisor, so it's going to bring up that whole app again. And then you can just close it out and click continue. In most cases, you won't need to add any attachments, but if for whatever reason you want to attach a cover letter or you have anything that you would like to submit with the application, you can grab it from your computer here, or you can just click continue. And then here's where you'll sign as the agent. So signature method, you will choose mouse, finger, stylus. And this is how it works if your client is signing with you in person too. You just have to check the box to agree. I'm using my mouse right now to sign, and I always tell people your signature is probably going to look like a kindergartner signed it. Do not get hung up on how great your signature looks because nobody's looks great. And then you'll just click apply my signature and then click OK and then continue. And at this point, it will take you to a status page. So it will show you what the status of the e-app is in the signature process. So you can see here my insured signature method was e-signature. The status is sent. You can see the email address that it was sent to. If for whatever reason you fat fingered the email address and put it in wrong, you can just change it, correct it here, and then click send correction. And then that email will go back out to them. And then you can see that myself as the agent has signed. If your client has signed with you in person, the status for both will be signed. And at that point, you can click the submit button here. The submit button is grayed out for me because I chose e-signature. So you don't have to click the submit button, or you won't be able to click the submit button if you have an e-signature. Once your client has logged in to sign it and has completed the signature process, that e-app is automatically submitted to underwriting. So there's nothing that you need to do at that point. Essentially, your client will get an email from One Span Sign, that is our e-signature vendor, and the signature line says Illinois Mutual has added you as a signer. And then they will just click the, there's a link in the email. They will log in with the last four of their social and their date of birth. It is very important that they follow the date of birth format that's on the page. So it's 2-digit month, 2-digit day, 4-digit year, separated by backslashes, and it will show them the format on that page. But you wouldn't believe how many people enter it in wrong, and then they get locked out of the app. So just make sure they enter in those 2-digit day, 2-digit month, backwards, 2-digit month, 2-digit day, 4-digit year. And then it will essentially walk them through each page that requires a signature. So all they have to do is click to sign on each page that requires a signature. And once they've tabbed through each page, it will let them know that they've finished signing. You as the agent will then get an email letting you know that the application has been submitted. And then once again, as Dan mentioned, if you are already contracted or appointed, you'll be able to see that business right away out in your portal. If we have not yet, if this is your first piece of business and we haven't completed your appointment, it may be a few days before you can see that initial app in the system. But that is how to run a quote and illustration and submit an e-app.
Perfect. Great job. I appreciate it, Leah. Overall, simple process. I mean, e-applications are definitely the best way to go for your client, number one, because it's not going to let you go on until you have all the information that's there. As you've seen, you can do paper applications if you need to, and I believe you guys just got a forms material section too, where you can just pull a regular paper app as well. But if you know you're going to go out and see a client, we know what they're going to kind of see for. If we know what they want for a face amount, and they're okay with the premium, it's still a good idea to go through and print that off so everything looks nice and neat. Myself, I am my handwriting is not the best, so that way it eliminates errors for you guys also. So for easeability of doing business, I mean the face-to-face signature option is great that you guys can do that. The email signature sounds fairly simple. Just making sure that, like Leah said, if there is a different owner or policy, then the initial policy holder that's there is different. You got to have different email addresses. So that makes complete sense for me as well. Can you show again where they would find the pending information? Because I know once they submit that, we're waiting for that email signature
Yes.
on that client. And you had that. If we could just see, if an agent writes a couple applications in a day, how do they know if they're waiting for that signature process? If you'd show that real quickly.
Absolutely. So I'm just going to go back to the home page like you just logged in.
Mm-hmm.
If my computer decides it's going to. Here we go. And then you'll just go back to that illustrations and applications where we first came in to run that quote and take an app. And then there's 4 tabs across the screen here. There's a home tab that shows anything that you've recently worked on, your clients, your illustrations, and then applications. So you're going to click on this applications tab. And it will show you all of the applications that you've been waiting on. And this is the one, this Leah training that you see here. This is the one that we just completed. And this is the status section here. So you can see this is still awaiting signature. If the client has signed it, then you'll see that it shows submitted. You may see if your client got locked out. It may say like signature ID failed. That means either they entered in their social wrong or their date of birth wrong, or it doesn't match what's on the application. So you may want to go back into the app just to make sure that that information was input correctly in the application. So all you'd have to do is click on the app and then click edit. And then you can remove signatures and change the date of birth or social if it was incorrect. Or if you just want to see what the status is, you can click on review all signature status. And then again, it will show you, especially if you have more than one signer, it will show you who has signed it and who hasn't here.
Perfect. That looks pretty good to me. Let me see if we got any other questions here for you all. Underwriting. I know everything's kind of automated that's there, it sounds like on the back end, but if somebody wanted to do like a risk assessment, other than what's on your guys' underwriting guide, is there somebody that we can contact, email, or call to kind of do a risk assessment?
Yep, absolutely. So again, as I mentioned, agents have direct access to our underwriters. So they can either call in, it's our 800 number, and there's a menu basically. Underwriting's option 5. So when you listen to the menu and you hear, like if you I can't even remember what it says, but it says if you have an application in underwriting, but essentially that would also apply to risk assessments too. You just hit option 5, and then you just let the underwriter know, hey, I need a risk assessment. You'll give them your client's, gender, date of birth, any medication, and medical conditions, and just say, hey, would they be a candidate for the simplified issue whole life? Or if you're quoting fully underwritten, then they'll let you know, if they would be standard or substandard or preferred, things like that. And then also you can email them, and it's just underwriting@illinoismutual.com.
Perfect. One last question here. I know on the signature process, what was the email address that it's actually coming from when an agent sends for an email signature?
Sure. I actually emailed myself, so I'm going to pull that up here, I think. I think I did send it to myself.
I know
Let's
it
see.
says
There
Illinois
it is. I
Mutual
found
on
it.
it, but there we go.
Yes. So this is what it looks like. It says it's one span sign is who it comes from, and then this is the email. It's signers@e-signlive.com. And it says Illinois Mutual has added you as a signer to Illinois Mutual application documents, and then they just click this Go to Documents button here.
Perfect. That's always one thing that the email signatures, people say they don't get it or it goes to their junk mail. So it's just nice to be able to see where it's
Yes.
actually coming from, so they can have those a trusted sender that's there also.
Yes.
Perfect.
And I always recommend they check
That
their
sounds
junk because it does hop in there sometimes.
absolutely. Well, I think that's all the questions that we had for today, at least for now. Other than contracting, how do we get appointed with Illinois Mutual? Through Western Marketing, of course, you can call our 800 number, the 800-852-7152, and we can walk you through the process. Any questions that you might have about Illinois Mutual, their final expense, fully underwritten products, it's there. But we do most of our contracting through SureLC SuranceBay, which that is a single sign-on platform for all the carriers that we have, but we help fill out that contract that's there that might be 30 or 40 pages long, and we have a whole team of contracting specialists that can help you out with that, so you can get appointed with Illinois Mutual. Do either of you know kind of contracting time frame? Somebody watches this today, they see, hey, I want to be able to write Illinois Mutual. How quick can they get contracted with you all?
We actually don't pre-appoint. So what will happen is if they send in their contracting paperwork, we'll get them loaded into the system, assign them an agent code, and send them an email with access to the agent portal. So they will be able to, within a couple days, get access to the system. I would probably recommend sending that agent application to our sales department. I think our sales team is much quicker at getting them loaded than if you send it directly to our contracting team. Just going to be straightforward there. So if you send it to our sales team, we'll again get that agent loaded in the system, assign an agent code. We'll send an email to register for the portal so they can start writing business immediately. It's just once that new business comes in house, I would say it's typically 5 business days for the appointment process while we're underwriting that first piece of business.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, from Illinois Mutual's aspect and all the companies that we do business with, that just-in-time appointment really is dependent on the state and when they get that background check back. So, I mean, some of those can be 2 days to get that back. Some of them take a week or more. So just know that that first application might take just a touch longer than your subsequent applications. Same thing with hierarchy. Trying to get, maybe you have some downline agents that's there. It's just a matter of, activation might take a little bit longer that's there, but we can help set up that process too. If you are an agency owner that has LOA agents or direct agents, we have both of those capabilities. So, yeah, other than that, appreciate your time, Dan and Leah. Once again, our number here is 800-852-7152. Our website is www.wmacorp.com, as you can see that there. And we'll be sending an email out to y'all regarding this, more product information, a little more in-depth things that are there. and then some access to our other marketing staff so that we can help you get set up with Illinois Mutual and better protect your clients. So, Dan, Leah, thank you again. Appreciate your time and partnership with us, and look forward to sending some more business your way.
You are very welcome. We
Thanks.
appreciate you having us today.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you guys have a fantastic day. Good start to your week here, and great rest of your week. Appreciate you guys.
All right. Thank
Thank you.
you. Enjoy your day.
Yes, you too.